There's a fascinating story about King Hezekiah, who was one of the most righteous kings of Judah. The story goes that Hezekiah is deathly ill. He's actually terminally ill. Now, of course, Hezekiah, being a great king, recognizes God runs the world. And Isaiah the prophet, who is his prophet advisor, because all kings had prophet advisors, comes to him and says, this is a message from God, you're going to die. And Hezekiah says, what have I done wrong? I fear God, I'm a righteous king. The level of Torah study in Jerusalem and Israel at the time was the highest level ever achieved. And Isaiah says, but you made one big mistake. You never got married. We know it's a positive commandment in Judaism to get married and have children. And for Hezekiah, the king of the Jewish people, not to fulfill a positive commandment was a big chil Hashem. It was a lessening of God's name in the world. And remember, on his level of responsibility, little mistakes, big consequences. And Hezekiah answers Isaiah. He goes, no. You have to understand why I didn't do this. Because I found out, people had access, prophecy, other information, that the kid who would come from me would be evil. And rather than have an evil child who would do damage to the Jewish people, I chose not to have kids. And then out of Isaiah's mouth comes a very powerful lesson. He says, it's not for you, knowing the future, to make decisions in the present. If you have a commandment to have children, you should have children. So Hezekiah he hears it, and he says to Isaiah, okay, I hear the point. I'll tell you what, you give me your daughter, she's righteous, I'm righteous, maybe there's a chance we'll have a righteous child. And Isaiah says, too late. He goes to leave, and God says to Isaiah, turn around, go back. Tell Hezekiah, marry, you got 15 more years of life. And Hezekiah does marry Isaiah's daughter, and they do have a child, and that child's name is Manasseh. And just as Hezekiah foresaw, he ends up being the worst king of all of Judah, as bad as King Achav of the northern kingdom, who ends up doing tremendous, tremendous damage to the connection to God and to Jewish observance and Jewish knowledge. But again, it's just such a fascinating story about decisions we're supposed to make now versus knowledge we could access in the future, but what's the correct way to act based on what we know now and what we're commanded to do.